Well, we're jumping into another episode of the podcast today, and we're here with Colby and Kopi and Gus, I guess. But Colby, tell us about yourself. Where do you serve in student ministries?
I have just became an 8th grade leader because my boys moved up this week. I've been in it for maybe a year and a few months now. I've been loving it.
Yeah.
Middle school is very fun. What else do you want to know about me?
Well, I mean, you're an interesting fellow, so...
I think so, yeah.
You just went through the fire academy.
Yes, I
right?
went through the fire academy last year. This whole year I've been applying to a lot of different fire departments, probably like 20 now is what we're getting up to. And I'm in the process of like 2 right now nearby, Sanger and Fresno. We're going to see how those go.
Yeah.
But that's my goal, yeah. I just became unemployed last week. Sorta. My seasonal job as a PE teacher ended because school year ended, so I've got the summer to we'll see what happens, but
to do whatever.
Yeah, that's what so far I've had 4 days of summer and it's been very nice.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, a lot of golf.
A lot of golf. Let's go.
Uh-huh.
What course you been playing?
I played Madeira a few times,
Okay.
but I need to stop because Madeira makes me upset. I always end up getting like a normal score, like I do at the other place, like, oh, I guess this is the same score, but I just get more frustrated at Madeira. Like it feels like I'm about to have a horrible game, and then I take the score down and go, well, I guess it wasn't that bad. that was not fun. So I'm going to stop playing there. But Airways, Riverside, Hanks is right next to my house.
Swankies?
Yeah, I love Hanks. Yeah. I might go play there today after this.
Oh, dang, right on. Yeah, I need to, I always say that I need to get into golf. I haven't used the golf bag that I bought off you yet.
That's right.
But I don't know. I've been debating about hitting on the range, just getting my skills back up, pulling a little Happy Gilmore.
I heard that, your skills are just natural. You're just him on the course, right?
I guess.
The tree's being humble.
Yeah, I'm the most humble person I know, actually. But yeah, no, I would say if you ask anyone if I'm good at golf, I would say that no. The answer should be no.
Okay.
But based
on
on how much I've played, I would be pretty good for the amount that I've actually played.
Yeah.
So good at golf, no. Good for the amount that I played, yeah. And top golf champion. So
okay. I'm just bad. I'm just bad at all of them. But it's addicting at this point.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you. Uh-huh. So kind of like jumping in as to more of who you are. I mean, you like golf. You went through Firefighter Academy. Like what type of firefighting do you want to go into? Like, is it wildfire stuff?
I want to go into municipal. I have applied to CAL FIRE. I was definitely leaning not to just because you can get sent just away from home for long periods of time. And even though I'm not married or anything, it's like, I just don't really want to do it. But I did apply to North and South Lake Tahoe. So that'd be cool. If I did get it, that would be cool for a year. But I want to do municipal. I want to be in the city. It's just more fun. My dad is a firefighter. He's been a firefighter for, it's about to be 20 years.
Dang.
And so I've always been very proud of my dad, and I can see, I remember that it was kindergarten for me when he got off probation, so then he would bring the rig to school as often as he possibly could, whatever event he could, he would can we bring the rig? And it was looking back, it's he was only a firefighter for a year when he was doing that. So.
And that probation was probationary employee.
Yeah. He could have just been dropped at any point for that year, but he did well. And he loves the job, and so he's convinced me. I worked for Fresno Fire at one point with him, but I was at headquarters, and I remember he was saying, he's like, "Come on, be a firefighter," and I was like, "I'm too scared. I don't want to." And I was 19 or 20 years old, and I was like, "I'm really too scared. I don't think I could do it." And everybody there, every firefighter that was at headquarters, just fully convinced me. They're like, "Listen, you can stay right here, or you can just figure it out in your own time that this is going to be the best job you'll ever have." So I, in my little bit of experience in my interning and working at American Ambulance and just the little bit of time there, I can definitely see like it is awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for whoever picks me up eventually.
Yeah, dude, same.
Yeah.
They're gonna have fun.
Me and Ashton Dansby.
Yeah.
So me and him are racing, see who can get hired first.
Yeah, for real. I feel like it's like super competitive right now.
It is. It is
So-
really competitive. It's ups and downs with the market. And right now there's a massive need. So everyone in my academy, I think there was like 24 people that graduated or something,
Yeah.
and I'm like the last 4. And so it's like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Come
But they all
on.
went to Cal Fire, so it's like
Oh.
they're still looking for their
Their, like,
forever
permanent-
place too. But
Right.
we'll see. We'll see. I think only maybe about 3 people have gotten like a municipal department, like they'll retire out
Yeah.
of one day. So
Wow.
yeah, but it is fun. It
Yeah.
is also, it's cool from the academy, like most academies, something like a third of the people will get a fire department and a third will go to something similar, and then a third will do
Yeah.
something completely different. And our academy right now is like, this is literally like 90% or something, like is in that range of like, hey, we all did it.
Yeah.
And then the other people, not me, they're all American Ambulance. So it's like they filled the other third. So it's actually just I'm the
wow.
only one who was doing something weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, I could see that.
Yeah, I am weird, so I just feel like
But like the cool weird, like Portland weird.
Portland weird. Oh, I've been to
maybe
Portland.
not.
They are weird.
Yeah,
I've
they
been
keep
out
things
there.
weird, right?
Yeah.
Isn't
That's
that their
Austin.
like motto? Oh,
Austin is keep Austin weird.
yeah. I thought that was Portland. I don't know.
Portland's also very strange. I went there. I went to Eugene last fall.
Yeah.
Fall, and I went cliff jumping. It was very fun.
Hey.
But it was awesome.
Yeah.
Oregon was really cool.
Yeah.
So,
I went to Portland once. One of my buddies that I played hockey with became a cop in Portland in 2020.
Oh, cool.
Beginning of 2020.
Okay.
So he became very experienced very quickly.
Yeah, that's funny.
Which is nuts.
Over there, I believe all drugs are legal, and so there's just a lot of crime in the major city because of it. So
yeah,
but you can see it like driving through. It's like this is actually insane.
This is very different. This is
Yeah.
a whole different place. But what was life like growing up? Did you grow up in Fresno?
I did. I grew up in Fresno. I was born and raised in Fresno. I went to Sanger High, so I was in the Sanger School District because I live in southeast Fresno. Okay. So I went to all the schools that kind of bordered Sanger. But I think I had a good childhood. Yeah. I think my childhood was different for a couple reasons. Like one, like my dad being a firefighter. Some people aren't used to like most people are used to like your dad or mom comes home every night for dinner, and for me it was like I'd actually like every once in a while I'd go, "Where's Dad?" And my mom goes, "He's at work." And I was like, "Oh." And for 20 years I just never mentally figured out the schedule. I would just ask every time he was gone, like, "Is he at work?" Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So he'd be gone 2 days at a time, but it was really awesome having my dad home for 4 days, like the whole days, especially when it would land on the weekend. And but I have very loving parents and a little sister. She just graduated with her bachelor's at 19.
Dang, how'd she pull that off?
She got her associate's in high school, and she's already a little younger in her grade. So she just graduated from GCU with her bachelor's in professional writing. So she can do marketing and at home she just sits around and writes stories a lot for practice right now. So it's very fun. But yeah, growing up, something else that was a little different. My mom has epilepsy, so being around, it was an interesting dynamic because my dad would be gone sometimes, and yet sometimes my mom really it felt like me and my sister had to be there for our mom versus like kids my age was like, oh, my mom is there for me. And not to say my mom was never there for me, like she was there for me.
But you had to be like a little bit on guard in case she needed help.
We were always aware that like, hey, this can happen, and dad could be gone. And what was really nice was in 2009, worst mistake I ever made was being in third grade instead of buying a house, by the way. But
same, bro.
But we bought a new house, and my dad's parents moved in with us. So for the last 16 years, my grandparents have also lived with us.
Dang.
And so it's just really nice having like the multi-generational. And my other grandparents and cousins live down the street.
That's so cool.
I've always like had a very tight family, and it's very nice. And so it's fun. Like I wouldn't say, I don't know, I feel like some people's families, like they're really weirdly close, you get uncomfortable like in their house. Like I heard, Alec dance me. They cuddle too much. It's weird, It makes no sense. He's too buff for that. It just I can't imagine a family full of buff people just shoulder to shoulder on the couch watching a movie.
Hey, I mean, when you have like 5 siblings,
right? There's no room on the couch.
What couches can hold 5 siblings?
I don't know.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
but
shout out to him. That was a weird guy. I would never. Bless whoever's heart he's partners with in middle school, whatever group that is.
Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah.
God bless his boss. Guy has to put up with that guy.
Yeah, poor deal. My goodness, he's crazy.
Yeah, definitely does. He doesn't require any patience because of who his boss is or anything like that. So, I mean, his boss is great.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool because my grandpa has epilepsy, and so we never. He was on some medication, and he's been on some medication forever. And I think I've never experienced like having to be aware of like his epilepsy, but when I was like little, like I was aware of what epilepsy was because of that. And I don't know what kind of meds worked, but
I think in 1 week my mom is going to be a full year free of no seizures.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's been like it's been growing up. I remember. Each year it'd be like you could count on your hand how many seizures she had. Yeah. And then in more recent years, it's been like how many a day, or how many a week. And so it started getting bad, and something changed. And so we've just been really grateful that we believe like God may have just taken it from her. She's had it for since she was 16, so like 35 plus years, that she's dealt with it. And so I love my mom for her hope. I've always really realized like my mom has a very, very strong faith that super rooted in her hope that like a lot of days, for her is like, it's not a good day. Yeah. And yet some people, they would just be destroyed. And yet my mom is like, hey, you know what? If this happened to me every day, guess what? One day I would die and go to heaven. So it's like, this isn't, really think about it, like this isn't all that bad when you so I've really always leaned on that. Like I love my mom for that. She had a really good perspective over the temporary versus the permanent. She's so good about that. And so I've always tried to be similar, but she does really miss driving. Because she drove for a long time. Like when I was a kid, she drove, and then I think she parked a car, then had a seizure or something, and it was like, oh, that was close, and so stopped driving, and then but we've agreed she gets 2 years, then she can drive again. And I think that's actually like the legal.
I think so too.
So that'd be cool because she literally just like that's all she wants to do is drive.
Well, it's because it's that sense of freedom.
I
mean, remember when you got your license?
Oh yeah.
I went to River Park and just drove around the traffic circle a bunch of times. That was pretty great.
I think I drove to my friend's house down the street, and it was just funny because it was like, this is crazy because I'm not on my bicycle. Like it feels weird, And I actually went to his house the other day. I hadn't seen him in a while. Yeah. And his brother graduated high school, and I went over there and I got lost, and I was like, haven't been over here in a while, but they built a bunch of new houses, and so I got lost in his neighborhood. Yeah. I was like, I've been here 1,000 times, I swear, but I was like, well, this road, that's a service road now, with a gate, and okay, I'll do the. Oh, what? And I think I turned around like 4 times before I just had to like pick up the map and like
put in his address or guess where
I was like, this is crazy, man. I know where I am. What is this? So.
I feel like that's how it is out here in Riverstone. Like I think the last time you were out here, like I didn't really
sent
have
me
like
somewhere else.
Sent you somewhere else. I didn't have like half these houses in the neighborhood built.
Yeah.
It's been wild. But you mentioned that your mom's hope throughout this, throughout her journey with epilepsy. It kind of really inspired you, but where did your faith journey start? I guess where were you always in church? And always believe, or was it some kind of catalyst?
I think maybe a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in church. I think I'm like fourth generation, Christian.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that my great grandpa on my mom's side, he was like 40 something years old, and I don't remember what happened to them, but they were like, hey, we're gonna start going to church, like things are gonna be different around here. And so that start where it's like this family of 4 that's like they've never been to church, and he's like, this is it. And now having like my grandma is literally one of the most influential Christians in my life, and it's like, man, that was your start. Like you were probably a teenager, like a little kid that just suddenly your life flips around. But I've always gone to church. So I would say I've always had my belief in God, and I understood, what Jesus did for me, and I always loved him. But I feel like a term you hear a lot with like Christian kids is like, when did you make it your own? And I would.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, I would really say probably when I was a teenager, probably when I was 15.
Okay.
I felt like in early high school and middle school, like I was very good at like keeping my morals and everything. It was like I wouldn't cuss, and I wouldn't, as a kid, it's like the bar isn't like crazy high compared to now. You would think like as an adult you just have so much more freedom where the temptation is different. But as a kid at that age, it's like there's just a few things where it's like, hey, don't do that. Like other kids obviously do this.
You get to junior high and your eyes are open.
Yeah, right? So it's like suddenly it's like, you did what? It's like, we were in 6th grade last month. What do you mean you did that? Summer, man. I've got mold on my back and hair, they're just weird.
Mold.
Yeah, but they, so I felt like I kept my morals, and I always tried to be funny. So I always tried to like, hey, I want to try and make my jokes like better than people's, but I think God would bless every joke. I mean, I don't know, it's hard, it's lonely up top, but yeah, I think when I was right into high school, some stuff just started happening in my life, and like as I was hitting puberty and everything, like I felt like a change in myself mentally, and it didn't feel like a good mental change. Like looking back, I really think I would describe it as like almost like a dissociation, where it was like I may have been dealing with this weird version of depression that like didn't quite look like most people's, because like I wasn't sad, I wasn't down, and like I didn't have motivation. It was more just like, comparing to how I feel right now, I think then it was like, man, I was in like a weird state of kind of a foggy mentality, like it felt weird. And so early high school, I found myself in the midst of like a pretty detrimental sin to myself, and more than the sin itself, the guilt and shame of like hiding it. And I mean, I was like, I was scared of my own family, because I just felt like, man, if at any moment someone were to find out, instead of me finally having the courage to talk about it, I feel I would just be terrified. And so I literally was terrified of my parents. And looking back, it's like, they didn't have a clue. They just, I was just being weird. It was puberty, but it was like, I really was like fearful of my family. And it was because of the guilt and shame that was like, just like insanely heavy. And so
and it kind of probably, I mean, you mentioned that you were super close with your family.
So it was like, it was very hard, like especially I love my dad, like he's one of my best friends, and so he's always been like one of my buddies. And so that period of time, it was very hard really feeling like I was pushing my dad away. But he would have never known. But luckily someone tattled. And, that was a double whammy, because for the first time in that year, I suddenly, like, the shame and guilt of hiding is now besides me.
So it was almost a relief that you got caught?
It was kind of a relief, and yet now the other half.
Right.
Time for the consequence. And that was like some of the worst time of my life, where it was like facing this consequence and truly looking at my life. And I felt like in that moment, I was no longer hiding from God, not my family. It was like everything's on the table, and the change I want to make now is like, I need to actually serve God. I can't just be a Christian where it's like, hey, I keep my morals and I'm better than you, like
I'm a good person.
Yeah, and that's how it felt. And so I think even at that age I understood like, hey, that's not what gets you into heaven. Like I understand that it was like, but I think I still had kind of a confusion about like the role sin plays in our lives. And now I know it's like, hey, sin is here, like we were never meant to be perfect. We're never meant to be good enough. It's just that that, hey, Jesus and God love you anyway. Like you were never meant to be good enough. Like you need Jesus. And so I think that moment, that summer when I was like, I think I was turning 16, it was like a mental switch where suddenly that dissociation was starting to clear up. And I think it was because of that fog from the guilt, shame. And so I think that's when I made it my own faith. And I knew from then on, it's like, hey, I understand how I feel now. Like that was a bad feeling. Like I need to be better about here. We
come
can share.
We
can share.
There we go.
Yeah, but I think that's really when I made my faith my own. And so,
Gus.
But since then, I think it's interesting to see like every year, like looking back, like I feel like, my faith is great. And it's like, man, I've grown so much each time where it's like, what a comparison. Like I thought I was doing, better then. And like, I just know till the day I die, it's going to be like, man, that was nothing, like your faith just grows so much.
Well, and that's like how it's supposed to be, is you're supposed to grow over and over. And I wonder if that like disassociative state or like kind of that mentality that you had in the moment was probably a product of the guilt and shame. But that was probably, I mean, was it your first real experience with like sin controlling you, like more of that addiction?
I think so. It was definitely like, they say like sin is like, it feels more free. Like, hey, rules hold you down. Like freedom is doing whatever you want. But that is not true when you realize, when you try and stop and it feels like chains, or it's like, I thought I was free, like this is not free. Like this chains you down. And so, and then the funniest part is that the devil, tempting and convincing you to do it in the first place is the same first guy to like, you idiot, are you serious? You are never going to be good enough for God. Don't tell God. He would be ashamed of you, and so it's like, suddenly you're in this trapped, loop where it's like, oh my gosh,
it's those internet pranks where they like bait people into stealing phones or like stealing the bikes or whatever.
That's
they like
so
tie
funny.
a super
long chain.
like a long chain,
the cable that's hidden
some
in the grass.
And then they get on the bike and they just go and it just yanks them back.
Or have you seen it where they do the bike and all the bolts are off? So they'll roll like 40 feet, suddenly the bike falls apart, but it's down a hill, and so the tires fall off and they just...
But that's honestly, I feel like that's what these situations feel like, is you're promised this awesome experience and this freedom, and then you get down the road a little bit and all falls apart.
Yeah, or it hits you,
Life comes at you fast.
It is, yep.
And man, I'm gonna look at one of the other questions here. Gus, oh my gosh, you nuts.
Gus has a very nice collar. Gus and Toby? No.
Kopi,
yeah. Kopi, like the news guy?
No. Anze Kopitar is like one of my favorite hockey players.
Oh, okay.
Hindsight is 2020.
All these dogs are named after hockey things, right?
Gus is named after Gus from the TV show Psych.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My mom watches that show.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid show.
It is. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I think you kind of mentioned you've kind of always believed, but that interaction with overcoming that sin problem. Actually, this is a good. We'll just pick back up. I need to restart the camera.
Okay, yeah.
I was like hoping that it would go off.
Yeah. Perfect. This camera's gonna catch me eating this though.
All right, we just took a break, but we're jumping back into like, how did you make your faith your own? You said that that overcoming that sin problem, overcoming that addiction was what kind of jump started you taking the reins of your faith.
Yeah.
But what did your life with church look like at that point? Were you going to a church regularly, or were you like watching at home? What did it kind of look like?
That was something my family kind of drilled into me pretty hard. Like, church was extremely important for us, and so there was like no excuse for missing church. Like, I remember every time like prom was Saturday night, and I'd be getting home at 3 or 4. And there was no excuse, like, we're going to church in the morning, like, get your 4 hours of sleep. Yeah. And so even throughout all that time, I was still going to church a lot. In high school, I started going to, it's actually Cross City, but it's not our Cross City. It's in Sanger. It's a really tiny church. It's that one with a red cross in the middle of the night, if you've ever seen off of Jensen.
I don't think I have.
I'm pretty sure it's called Cross City. And I went there for my Wednesdays. Loved that church. Found out recently that I met Chase at the camp that church went to, but I didn't remember that at all. Yeah, and we were looking because he said that my pastor is good friends with him.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Did you go this summer?" And he's looking through the pictures. I said, "Yep, that's me right there." And he goes, "What?"
That's
I
so
bleached
crazy.
long hair, and I just looked so different. So he did not remember me either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to that church for Wednesdays on my own, and then I was part of a Bible club at school.
Okay.
It was called Reach. Reach was like really good. It was like small the first year. I would have been a freshman. I didn't hear about it. And then the second year, it like blew up, and I started going, became friends with the guy who created it in track. And his name's David. I wonder how he's doing. He's an awesome guy. He's one dude I remember, like, I met him and I thought, that guy is a Christian for sure. And I was right. So it's like he displayed that very well. Even just in it was just his joy, like walking through a room. Also just such a handsome man. But anyway, Reach, me and my friends took over when they graduated that next year. And so for the 1 year, it was still pretty big. But it was kind of dwindling just because it was like, it actually was a lot. Like, it was pretty difficult, and being seniors, it was, I don't know, it was...
You were wanting to go off campus, kind of just...
Yeah, it was like, I think we did it once a week, but it was like, a lot of times it just ended up being hanging out, like, and once a month we would get someone to speak maybe, and so it was tough, but I was part of that. And I would still say, like, throughout this high school experience, like, I was working on my my discipline, but I still wasn't fully out of that, like, weird foggy state that I think I can compare to now. So looking back, it was like I was going to church all the time, and I was doing devotionals somewhat regularly, I think. And so it was like I felt like I was learning some. Like, looking back, it's like, why do I feel like I didn't learn a whole lot at that time? But I think it was more or less like God was just kind of setting me up for like COVID, really, honestly. Like, just because I was at the right age. I feel like if I was younger or older...
Were you 19 when COVID hit?
Yeah, it was 2020, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Or like late 2019. So I would have been turning 19, if not 19. And so I was probably at the best possible age you could have been. Like, I wasn't going to a 4-year college. I was going to community college. And so it was like, it's like saved some of my grades, because it was like, I'm not going to pass this class. You're telling me what? We're going home? You know, so it was like... It kind of worked out for me, and then I started working full-time at places, and so it was like, for me, it just was like the perfect time, and I honestly, nothing was wrong about it for me. It was like, this is great. Every part of what's happening to me because of COVID is kind of good. So, but
that's an interesting perspective. Not very many people.
No. I know my sister had a rough time. She was in high school.
So many people have rough times.
And then people at like 4-year colleges, maybe a little bit ahead of me.
They lost their experience.
Yeah, they got nothing. I remember thinking about that because my sister went to GCU, and my dad and I were talking, and I was like, man, I would have loved this place. Like, it's so outdoor driven, and I was like, I would have loved this campus. And yet my dad goes, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have been there. Like, for 2 years, you wouldn't have even been there. I was like, That's right.
And then you would have had like a semester.
Yeah.
Then,
so it worked out for me. I didn't really get that college experience where I was away and, living on my own and everything. But nonetheless, I felt like where my faith was when that started was kind of like I started praying differently, I think. Like when I was 18, 19, I really felt like, I don't know what sermon it was. I honestly think it was Anchor. And it was when it was still in the frat house.
Oh, wow.
And I want to say it was like Lily, if you'd ever met Lily. She lives in London now. She's
she served in junior high in
good friend of mine.
2019. I think it was 2019. Yeah.
I want to say it was her giving a message. It was somebody giving a message that wasn't Jake in the frat house. And it was regarding like your prayer, like God is listening to you at all times. But like in order to align your heart with God's, you got to start praying for the right stuff. And so we usually pray like for what we want. And God, gives us these desires and everything. Like there's nothing wrong with like, hey God, I really want this job. But something switched where I started praying like, hey, I would like this. I don't know what your will is right now. I'm going to take this step by step, but whatever you want for me, I will wholeheartedly give myself to that until you tell me to go somewhere else. And so I started praying instead of praying for like, God, I want more wisdom. I want more of that. I was like, I would like to be challenged, And so it's like, please grow me versus just giving it to me like it's some magical dust getting sprinkled over
like
me.
a genie granting a wish.
So I feel like 18, 19, I had made my faith my own in high school, but like that was when stuff started to click. I started remembering what I'm reading and what I'm learning and like actually applying everything and like, okay, time to
live it.
Test myself a little bit here. And so that being during COVID, it was like just such a weird time for everybody. And it really kind of, I think, set me up for a good COVID is really what happened. Like it ended up being good time for me. I made all my best friends from Anchor there. It was like Emilio and Caleb and Seth and Philip and a couple other guys like Drake, lives in a different city now, but it was like, this is now like my tight knit like men's group. Like I trust these guys. We have a men's group right now. And so it was like meeting them at a time like no other when it was like, you guys want to hang out right now? It was like, I guess so. Like, well, why not? We literally, no one has anything to do. And I guess we're not supposed to meet. But it was like, I remember several times we're all just like in the bed of Presley's truck or something, and we're talking for like 5 hours. And it's like people are crying and getting deep and everything. And it's like, these are just my best friends now. And so it was like, all these things were really lining up for like coming out of that time of like high school is hard. Everyone knows that. Like it's really hard, I think, because you're changing and you don't understand what's going on. And it's like your brain is being weird and you just don't understand. And yet you come out of it and it's like, you look behind you and it's like, that was rough. But like, man, I'm like a whole lot different of a person because of this now. And so getting slingshot into COVID and having this kind of new level of my faith really felt like, that was God. And so he was setting me up for, I think, like a lifelong, like, hey, whether you fail or you fall into sin or you're close or far, like I am confident, like I'm never going to give up my faith, like willy-nilly where it's like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. It's like, it has given me enough of a faith and a hope and a conviction where it's like, I could never let go of this that God's given me, however far.
Yeah. And I know friends are super important. And so kind of in that story, do you feel like you found your friends where you were at, or do you feel like you became the person that those friends wanted to be friends with? I know that's like more of a open-ended question, but
I think we definitely found each other where we were at. Like looking back, I think I've known everyone for about 5 years now at the church that like, we're all very different now. Like I wouldn't say crazy different, but it's like, we're all in massively different stages of life. They've seen me in multiple relationships that like, you know, like, hey, it didn't work out. And like everyone's, you know, like cheering me on. It's like, oh, we're here for you again. You know? And then now some of them are married. Yeah. That was another thing. Goodness gracious, you know, watch your friend group because they're all gonna marry each other and leave you behind. And it's not fair. You know, like, wait, it's an uneven number. Wait, you know. So, but yeah, I think we found each other where we were at. And so looking back, it's like our faiths have grown immensely in the last 5 years, just like all of us becoming like true adults, you know, and like taking on different responsibilities. Well, and that's something that you guys all like had in common though. Like you guys found each other where you were at, but you guys still wanted to go in the same direction. Yeah, I think that's why you're able to be such good friends. Yeah, I think it was actually like, that was definitely God working like wonderfully because I have a lot of friends, you know, that like, they were my lifelong childhood friends, and even like they are Christian, you know, or they consider themselves to be, and it was like they went away, and suddenly it was like, what? You know, like the reason we were so close friends was like our faith, and yet I don't feel like we're at the same level at all now. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know how to tell you, like, dude, you're dropping the ball, like you're not even trying, you know, and so to like lose friends in that way versus like having this where it feels like these friends of mine now, it's like I think there's a difference between support and love. Like I'm not gonna just support my friends. I'm going to love my friends, and sometimes that means not supporting them. And so I think that was not supporting like bad decisions and stuff. Okay. Because I think that might have been the difference between like childhood best friends that are Christians. Like I think I kind of sat back and like, well, I think you're not really doing good stuff right now. Yeah. But you're my friend, you know, and so... And you can still love somebody and not support everything that they do. Yeah, but I feel like the friends I've got now at this church, it's definitely like, we're all like, hey, we're in this for the long run. Yeah. We're all meeting in heaven. Like, let's... Knock it off. Yeah, we're sticking together. Like, we need to really be strong about this. So I think... the last 5 years, like having those friends and watching everyone like just spit like on his foot on my leg, watching everyone like grow in their own way and like just helping each other out. It's been so fun. I have a tree tattoo because I learned there's a lot of symbolism in trees in the Bible. There's so many trees in the Bible. Like when you really realize, I mean, for crying out loud, Jesus was pinned on a tree, you know. True. So. But there are so many trees in the Bible, and I learned this little sermon. It was that sequoias, they're all so massive that a lot of times they don't get sunlight because the other ones are covering the sunlight, and yet they're all connected underneath by their roots. And so the symbolism that they were using in this sermon was that good, strong, rooted friends in Christian, you know, communities, they're all connected underneath, like, this is more than just knowing each other, like we're brothers and sisters in Christ. And so when one tree is not getting enough light and water, it takes it from the other trees that have a surplus. And so I feel like good Christian friendships and family members and relationships, you lean on each other when like one person's down and one person's up. And so when you have like a good solid group, you're going to have so many times when like someone's down or a couple people are down or a couple people are up, and you get to just like feed into each other where it's like, man, that's why the trees are so strong. They keep going big, and it's like that. I think that is God's plan, you know, and that's why community is so important too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see that the disciples always went places generally with another person, even when they were dispersed. They always went and had that community or built that community, and that's why youth group is so important. Honestly, and youth group. Like, you don't always choose who's in your small group. Yeah. But you do choose what is the core of your life, and you do choose who you want to be friends with and who you truly invest in. Yeah. And those are the hardest things that you can do because supporting is easy because you don't have to have a backbone to support. Yeah, yeah. You can just like, hey man, go for it. Yeah, you go. Just do what makes you happy. That's like that's always the line. That's always the line that irks me. Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, yeah. Or if that makes you happy right now, just do that. Yeah. As an adult, what kills me is like, at least they're working. So that's yeah, that one's like, ooh. Oh my goodness. The but loving somebody actually takes work, actually takes effort, intentionality, and
I think it requires you to dig a little bit deeper. And when people see that in you, they want that same thing themselves.
Yeah.
Supporting, you can just do with your words. But actually loving somebody requires action too. I think that's been like the interesting thing that we've been, you said something earlier that we've kind of been talking about in our series on the book of James and even in, I think it was the life of Jacob that we recently went over, but like it's about that heart posture. And I think your friendships really reveal that in you because the people who are closest to you, whether it's your friends or your family, or maybe your family is your friends, you know? And those people really get to see your heart, and those are the people who really get to see if you've changed or you're just a really good actor.
Yeah. That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like a little bit heavier of a topic, but it like, even when it goes with your prayer, you kind of got over that, like, hey, let me ask for this gift, but how do I become more like you? How do I have that heart posture like you? And that's where I think we change the most, is when we understand I need to put myself aside so I can love my community, or so I can align my heart with God. Yeah. That's straight from the book of James. But your prayers go unanswered. I think it's James 4. Basically, like, you're praying for the wrong things. You're praying for things that distract you, but true prayer that gets answered is when your heart is aligned with God. And that's the friendships will be fruitful when your heart is aligned with God, and when you inspire your friends and spur each other on for their hearts to be aligned with God too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing I do love about you is your ability to like have these conversations and invest in the youth, but also be so fun.
Yeah, I do feel like a pretty fun guy, you know.
You're a pretty fun guy. Yeah. You're not moldy, but you might be a fun guy.
Yeah, mold on my back. That was middle school, you know.
Yeah, I feel like everyone, you go from I'll never shower to I'm going to shower like 7 times in a day in middle school. Because you got people to impress now. So now I got to smell good. Get into cologne.
Yeah, I need to do cool shoelaces. I was really into that. One of my boys, he came up to me the other day, and he did a star formation. I was like, that is sick. Because I remember with my Vans, every week I would change the pattern, and it was like, that's so much fun, you know? But that was my Riz, I guess. It was just going, see this?
You see these
Colby,
laces?
why are you a foot shorter than us?
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll leave you alone.
But what advice do you have for, people who, or like kids in junior high and high school, that they want to be a Christian, but they still want to be fun?
I think actually, like, totally what I said at the beginning. I believe that people think that sin is freeing, and like these rules of Christianity and like God's plan for you is like, it's constricting, but it's honestly not. Like, the fun that the world has to offer is just, it chains you down to addiction and depression and chasing, where it's like, not chasing as in looking like Chase. Chasing as in like, I'm so happy right now. Oh, and then it fades. I need to do it again. I need to do that again. Like,
or I need to go one step further.
Yeah, like you work the week so that you can have the weekend, and that's all you look forward to. Like, I make money so I can have fun on the weekends. It's like, I hate my week. I think having fun as a Christian is, for one, taking joy in what God has for you right now. Having like a real sense of joy, I think, is just a content where you're at, and taking what you've got and just having, doing what you want with it, that's in the right parameters of like, what I think we're allowed to do. And it's so much more freeing. And there is a sense of peace that comes with just a relaxed version of this, weird world of fun, where it's like, you could do all of these things and they're so much fun, and it's like, that's evil. What? And like, that stresses me out. Whether I'm happy every other day and stressed, like, that's not worth this like content joy that you can just ride with. But there's plenty of fun things to do. I think I'm a little ornery. I like to prank my family a lot, but like, who knows how right that is? But there's there's things that are like, there's no ill intention, and there's no version of like serotonin chasing,
or like malice or anything.
Like there's no malice.
I'm pranking you because I love you so much.
Man. I'm taking this sticky stretchy worm and I'm coming up behind my sister and whoosh, 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 and hiding behind her. Or, I scared somebody pretty bad yesterday leaving church because I pulled up beside them, and I know that they get scared even if you just go. Yeah. If you're standing next to them, you do that. And so I rolled my window down because theirs was down, and I literally just from a road over, and they dropped everything. They thought something crazy was happening on the sidewalk, and I just laughed and drove away.
So funny. I think I have that same spirit because my dad and Shelly walked into the lake that we were backpacking at.
Oh yeah.
And so I walked down the trail to meet him and then help him carry the weight in, because we were just like chasing sunlight.
Yeah.
And I legitimately had this thought of like, it would be so funny if I like hid around this rock and just like jumped out like a bear.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so good.
Kind of regret not doing it, but also
who knows what would have happened.
Shelly still loves me because I didn't do it.
Yeah,
so
there's also, I mean, how many
wisdom.
pairs of pants did they bring if they peed one of them? It's like,
yeah, that's true.
There's already a pooped one of them story, so you can't have. Yeah, so.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I think that's again, like I said, it's one of the things that I admire about you is the ability to have fun. But I think what you said about like having those parameters is incredibly important, and most people don't want that. Like most people fight that. Everyone wants to walk on thin ice, and it's pretty cool to walk on thin ice until it breaks.
Yeah,
and that's what I think the temptation of like sin really draws you in with. Is like, oh no, you can do it. It'll hold you.
Yeah.
And everything's good until it's not. And then, like,
it'll just take your life over. Before you know it.
Yeah, and I think it's. I've done a lot of like research about like ice skating outdoors. It's one thing I've always wanted to do. And
that'd be
in California,
cool.
Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
You have to like hike with your skates and all that stuff. But you're supposed to take these things with you that if you fall in, you wear them around your neck and you can stab into the ice and pull yourself out.
Oh, that's cool.
But a lot of times I feel like when we're living our life and we're not listening to those parameters, or we're not following God, or our heart posture's changed, it really just, it's us saying, hey, I'm willing to skate on thin ice, but I won't even need those things to get out of this.
Yeah.
And the cool illustration that I like to, I guess I just saw in my brain is you might not have those things to help people out, but Christ is there to help, like with his hand and be like, hey, come with me.
He's standing there. He can walk on water. Surely he can walk on ice.
That is so true. But it's just like he'll help pull you out of any situation.
Yeah, he really can.
But you have to have the heart posture. You have to reach back out and grab his hand.
Yeah.
And you have to humble yourself before him. And then, once you get out of that situation, you have to keep choosing him.
Yeah.
And heeding to those warnings.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of close, but I always close with one question. I didn't send it to you last night. So
okay, a surprise question.
But if you had one piece of advice for junior high or high school students in regards to your life that you've learned, what would it be?
Something I think I learned this year, I wish I'd known much longer. I think I always knew it in my mind, but I never believed it because it's so hard to believe. But God is truly a loving Father with open arms. Like you're saying, like he's always reaching out to you.
Yeah.
Literally just yesterday, our sermon discussed that God's arm is not too short, which is a funny line, imagining God with short arms, but
like a T-Rex.
Yeah, but his arms are not too short. He can always reach you. And I read a book called Gentle and Lowly, and it is describing God's heart, because there's a couple verses in the Bible that literally describe God's heart. Like, this is God's heart. And one of them being gentle and lowly. And so I think as a Christian, so as a kid in high school or in middle school, going to the church, and like you're raised in the church or you go all the time, we might kind of fall into the accident of following rules, where it's like, I'm good at following God's rules. Like I'm in there. I'm doing good enough. Like however close you're getting to just like, man, you're stellar. Like you're doing it. That has the tendency to make you feel a whole lot worse when you don't live up to that. And so what I learned this year was you're going to get beat down by yourself. Like when you sin, you sit in that corner and you're ashamed and you're like, oh my gosh, I will never be good enough. Like, what am I even trying to do? And that's the devil just trying to get in your head, like, give up. Because the devil doesn't want you to sin. He wants you to give up. He wants you to fall into despair. The devil, when you sin and you're saved, he knows, like, dang it, Jesus still got this guy. Like that didn't actually change anything. What I can do is if I can get him to give up and turn away from God and like, God doesn't want me, you're never good enough, fall into despair and, like leave this faith of yours behind. That's his goal with us, I feel like. So weirdly enough though, when you're in that corner and like, I'll never be good enough, you're right.
Yeah.
It sounds insane, but you're right. And when you make this mental switch, this is my advice, when you can finally make the mental switch to realize you were never supposed to be good enough. So suddenly that bar drops. Yeah. And now that devotion to God has less to do with how close can I get to following your rules correctly and more to just like, I want to do this because I love you, because you love me back. And you're gentle and lowly. Your arms are wide open. And when I do fall, like an infant learning to walk, your dad will be there to pick you up immediately because he loves you. You were never meant to be good enough. Plan A was always Jesus Christ. And so he knew that you would fall and that you would sin and that you would never be good enough, but he didn't want you to be good enough. He wanted you where you were at, and he loves you there. And so my advice is that if you can make that switch in your mind to stop trying to please God on your own and just starting to love God on your own, you're going to find that it's a whole lot easier to please yourself in that instance where you're not just getting beat up all the time, and that you truly begin to feel the love of God. Like we tend to imagine him on this throne, like, how dare you? The dog jumped. But that's just not the truth, all the time. It's so much more often than not God in the valley with you, arms open wide, just ready to give you all the love that he has to offer and, you to receive it. So it's just, I think that's my advice, however you can pick that apart. But I've learned that this year, and I wish I had known that better my whole life. So
is understanding that God created this world and Jesus was always plan A. And, and it's not about doing the right things and following the rules, but accepting that we were never good enough because of our sin.
And that we need a Savior.
And he has already done the work to save us. But will we realize that and will we follow that?
Yep.
Thank you, Colby.
Of course, anytime.